I was talking with some Navy pilots,
Yeah.
and they worked very intimately with the SEALs. They said that through training, through everything, that it's not a matter of if, it's when you will break as somebody. Is this true?
What do you mean by break?
By let's say, give up information or just like succumb to something where like
like if you're captured, do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you go through, and it's not just a SEAL thing. It's like, did you go through SEAL school? You didn't. Yeah. So SEAL school is a school that the military puts on for basically anybody who could potentially be.
They were telling
captured.
us about it.
Yeah. Pilots for sure, because they eject in enemy territory. You're going to get captured. And it stands for survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And it's a really, really like highly choreographed 2 weeks of training, at least the one that I did. But there's 4 levels of the training you go through. There's like level 1, which is like, it's the most minimal amount of training. And then level 4 is like, we're going to simulate you getting captured, and it's going to feel real. And they hire like role players that are very aggressive and are very good at playing the role of captor. And you go through like a miserable.
It's hard.
So what is that like?
So even from a SEAL, you're saying
this is
like,
after SEAL training. You are
it
a
is.
Navy SEAL. You have gone through all the training, and SEAL school was the fucking worst.
it was the worst.
It was like one of
What
the
is it
worst.
like?
That is crazy to hear.
I think that there's quite a bit that is unfortunately
you're not allowed to
confidential.
share
But
it.
I will say the couple things that I can put out there are, imagine just like being put in like highly uncomfortable stress positions that no one's doing anything to you. Like you can't quite stand up, you can't quite sit, you can't quite lean over. It's a little bit too warm. Like that kind of situation, and then like a loop of like scratching sounds or like high pitched sounds, and then periodically being dragged out and like manhandled. yeah, really. Or like, we had to like sit in a circle on the hardwood floor, which seems like nothing. Oh, just sit on the ground, right? But for like 18 hours, don't move. Like you can't move for like, you're just sitting like cross-legged. It gets so miserable.
So are you now one to never complain about anything? Because the guy sitting right beside
I'm a
you,
huge complainer.
Oh no,
Are
you're
you
a
actually-
complainer. There we go, Jeff.
because the guy sitting
complain
next
about
to
a
me,
lot.
I mean, if it's like,
not
69
venting.
degrees
I'm
in a
venting.
place, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so cold. Or it's like,
No,
73, oh,
I'm
it's
like
so hot.
I'm like the memes that it's like, yeah, I survived a tummy ache, making fun of men who like,
Yeah.
their wife meanwhile is like giving birth, and like the guys that got a tummy ache, like I'm the guy with the tummy ache. I'm
That's
like complaining.
you?
Oh yeah, I'm like a shameless.
How is that
complainer.
even? But
I don't know. It's just probably who I am, and like
Yeah.
I've been through stuff that's like tough and everything, but I still am the person I am. It's like, oh geez, I don't want to do that. Like that's horrible. So,
That's amazing.
but yeah, and to your question though, there's actually like tactics that are employed that I'm not going to get into that literally are like a way of deflecting, giving up information that are remarkably silly when you think about what you're doing, but they apparently, because I've never been caught or anything, but they work. And actually one of the most profound things about SEAL school, at least when I went through, is they bring in someone who has been a very real POW. And we had this guy that was kept in the Hanoi Hilton during the Vietnam War, who spent like a year in captivity.
Oh my gosh.
And they emulate what they've been through?
He just told us what he went through. And it was like everything he said was like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. And then he'd be like, and then this happened. And you're like, oh no, that's the worst thing that's ever happened. Like every torture technique you can imagine. But like the guy's like, his spine's crooked, like from what happened to him. But he's like so positive. He's like, come on guys, take this training seriously. You can do it. And we're all just like sitting there like in awe of this person who's been through like the most horrendous experience. So it's a very, very good school in terms of like what it gives you, and it definitely arms you with, I think, it would definitely at least prolong until you give something up. But I think that maybe at some point, as a human being, you might, I don't know.
This might be too much, but I'm curious why his spine was crooked or what.
Well, he
what
walked
happened.
in and he looked like a guy who had like gotten run over by a train. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like he didn't say, "Hey, my spine's crooked because of what happened."
Yeah.
He walked in and it was like obvious that he's like unable to move correctly, and he immediately addressed that he's like, a lot of the things I deal with now are from being held in captivity, and he's like literally crooked as he's standing there, and so we kind of put it together.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was like, like all his friends were killed and he was the last one.
Oh, God.
Yeah, gnarly.
Can I also ask how he was able to survive captivity for?
I think
a
he was
year?
there till like the area was liberated. I think until Americans
So he's
came
a
in.
tough dude.
Yeah, he
He is-
lasted. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gnarly. So,
And that's jeez.
but yeah, so I luckily only had to do the training. Never did any of that stuff in real life.